Cross your fingers and hope for Bobland.
Right? Another one of those distant server connections.
Should be, yeah.
Okay. Well, let us once again hope that this pays off.
Dun dun
Ah, there
dun!
we go.
So,
That quickly.
if you're not familiar with this map, first, this is the bronze match on D2 mid by Yellow Savior. There are two middle outposts. All the distances are very close together here. We have Happy Death in the green chrome saucer down on the bottom left.
And in the top right, there really seems to be a thing with the top right as far as these custom maps go. We have Tihatavoda in that Iron 1 Paladin.
Tihatavoda
And
going ahead and playing standard, just building a handful of tanks, whereas Happy Death is trying to tie in some anti-air as well, but unfortunately against a Paladin, that Seeker's really not going to make much of a difference.
that's right, and Tihatavoda going right in to secure dominance over both of those middle outposts by bullying Happy Death right out of it with that very squishy saucer.
But
And
meanwhile,
bringing in that
Tihatavoda,
Ratchet to help assert himself.
Tihatavoda with no anti-air has Happy Death just dancing around his tanks all day.
That is correct, however, not quite able to finish them off just yet. And the interesting thing about this map is that due to the 4 neutral outposts, you really do have multiple options as far as how you can approach.
There are a lot of choices, and that can be good, that can be bad, because the path to the fort is ultimately very short. If you over-invest in trying to take out those corners, get yourself a little bit more money, a little bit more upkeep, you might find yourself really weak at home and just get hit by a throat push.
That's right, and now we see both armies are just getting rather decimated as they go head to head as such a close quarters map would dictate.
Happy Death with that impeccable micro, 2 tanks smoking black, live to see another day.
That's right, however, micro aside, Tihatavoda still has captured the first middle outpost, forcing Happy Death to respond.
Happy Death was going for the farther outpost from the beginning, really trying to do more damage to Tihatavoda's army rather than the position. Tihatavoda is going to probably
Right.
snipe a Longhorn or two here if Happy Death isn't careful.
Oh
But
my
once
goodness, that
again,
was
the
a close
micro!
micro. And that's really doing Happy Death some big favors.
His units just won't die.
As Happy Death now shooting the corner of Tihatavoda's base a little just to presumably piss him off a little bit, as Tihatavoda does finally bring that Longhorn down. And here come the rebels.
Here come the rebels. I would predict that he's going to put these to try and take out the creeps and keep this forward base as neutral for as long as possible, and then potentially put some damage on these corners. If he
That's
does
right,
that,
and he's now using them to attack the base. A patrol loop means that they're not actually going to be firing at the base. However, Tihatavoda does seem to be having a bit of a hard time with actually hitting them.
but if he can keep putting a little bit of fort tick damage going on, he's going to force Tihatavoda to invest in some defense, which is going to make his front a lot
Right.
weaker.
And now we see that Happy Death is the one moving in on the outpost with his units, while Tihatavoda is still in the middle, and Happy Death now attacking with a Death Ray. And finally, Flackers are coming out to make it a little harder for that extremely soft target of the saucer to do work, as Tihatavoda brings out 4 bot spawners.
Yeah, both players having bot spawners. It looks like we have very similar loadouts again. You see the rebels on each side, the Goliaths for each, the Tesla towers for each.
Actually, each does not have Goliaths. You see that one side has Goliaths,
Ah,
and one side has rollers.
I'm blind. That's a
To
good
run
catch.
counter to Tihatavoda's heavy mines. As Tihatavoda once again chips away at Happy Death's army to get a few creeps into that outpost.
On this
With
map,
2 more rebels, and oh my goodness, 2 of those bot spawners went down while we weren't looking. And there's some serious damage taking going on.
he's just going to keep
Tihatavoda
poking that
forced
fort
to
until
respond.
Tihatavoda builds some defenses, which he just doesn't want to do.
Well,
Meanwhile,
as it
Happy
stands
Death
right now,
taking
he may
advantage
be
of
able
that
to just start
distract and just
dominating.
abducting.
And that is it. You rarely see a successful abduction in competitive play.
Let alone in 1v1, where there's nothing else to distract people besides yourself.
Not to mention the blatant lack of neutrals on this map, and we finally do see defensive unit coming in. It's the Tesla Tower. And Happy Death is trying to abduct more tanks
Happy
as
Death
he
pushing
pushes
in.
in. However, we have the red attack aura.
He's just going to go for it. You've got red attack aura, but you've also got distracting rebels in the back and the death ray, but he's such low health, and those are flackers, unblockable shots.
That is correct. And we
So
see Happy
he
Death
does go
die,
down.
which is probably going to spell the end for this iteration of Happy Death's army. However, it's also going to do some real work on Tihatavoda's forces.
That was almost a really solid push, but the flackers are, their bullets track through all the other units.
That's right, and they are perhaps one of the strongest. And it was maybe a year ago that flackers were the absolute dominant AA no matter what. Back when heavy flackers were just a straight up upgrade.
Happy Death with some tricky micro there, but ultimately not managing to save the units that he was trying to save. Abducting the flacker while he got it. It's his flacker now.
Well, Tihatavoda has answered with 4 more. Says you won't be stealing any more of those, pal. But you can steal my bot spawners. That's like, oh, I can't do anything about that, okay. And that's unfortunate for Tihatavoda, as Happy Death has figured out that he can just take those bot spawners as he pleases.
Happy Death auto-deploying boomers out of this outpost so that they run right into the lines. Seeing as there's no anti-infantry for Tihatavoda, this might actually play out to his advantage.
However, it's not playing out to his advantage, as they are getting one-shot by those Longhorn.
Which is interesting, considering they have a dodge chance.
Well, they haven't been taking that chance so far.
It's a lot of tank.
As this outpost is darn near going down to neutral, and there it goes.
That
Happy Death once again forced to retreat.
Flacker fire is keeping him from putting that death ray in.
That's right, and as you were saying, we are seeing the fact that Tihatavoda is prioritizing movement towards the base over taking out multiple outposts, and it is paying off for him, as Happy Death is unable to put out a focused defense in the face of these constant advances.
4 boomers just eating it.
That's right, and you can see Tihatavoda has those 2 fully cooked Bob Lens turkeys, or no, half-cooked.
The upkeep difference really says it all. Tihatavoda's got really a critical mass of flackers at this point. Happy Death is unable to approach, and he really doesn't have the units to take on that mass. So we're just really... Tihatavoda has got to get a sense that he's got a clear advantage, and now that he's captured this outpost, we'll probably just push straight ahead to fort.
That's right, we see Happy Death attempting to take down this outpost. However, he might just be doing Tihatavoda a favor by bringing down the neutrals for him.
Finally nudging those neutral brutes.
That is right, and Happy Death does have his creeps coming in on it, so he might be able to secure this outpost, but ultimately, Tihatavoda is taking one at the same time, leaving him at just as strong of a position as he had before.
Tihatavoda is going to be playing it safe this time. He's just sitting back. He's going to start building Goliaths at this forward outpost while he takes the corners.
That's correct.
Presumably for that extra income and upkeep.
And that death ray just really can't do any work at all. However, now that that top corner is on its way to being taken, we are going to start to see some creeps coming in on this outpost that Happy Death tried to secure, which means it is ultimately most likely going to just transition into an advantage for Tihatavoda.
So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... With the bot spawners as well, there's just a crazy amount of creeps coming from 3 different directions.
That is right, and this outpost is not going to last long, as Happy Death only has 2 bot spawners.
Happy Death can almost spawn his own creeps out of his butt, but he can't do it quite yet.
1 more level and he will be able to start bot spawning.
You got butt spawners and bot spawners. They're 2 different things, but they work very similar.
That is correct. The key difference being that the butt spawner can give you tier 4 creeps right off the bat.
It can. So Tihatavoda...
deciding that there's nothing worth harassing, so he just attempts to bring this top outpost down to neutral, maybe? Or he just...
Tihatavoda playing it very safe, deciding to go for the overtime damage. So he's going to neutralize this bottom right post. Looks like Happy Death has gone ahead and just GG'd.
A surrender.
That's understandable considering the position.
That is right.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So now we are going to move into game 2 of this best of 3.
This is a best of three. He's got one more chance.